It doesn't bellow, "Here's your integrity check," or "Time to flex that kindness." Nope, it tosses choices into the humdrum, no fanfare, no pressure, letting us pick without a crowd to play to. That's why they cut so deep. There's no stage, no applause, no reason to strut except what's already simmering inside. Life's tests are hush-hush but relentless, lurking in how you treat the ones who can't pay you back, in how you handle a punch to the gut, in whether your kindness sticks around when it's not convenient. Some people bumble through, oblivious they're even on the clock, thinking characters forged in the splashy heroics, the podium speeches, the loud "this is me" banners. But character's not a press release you shout, it's a quiet tally, racked up in the choices nobody's around to clap for. Ladies and gentlemen, a person isn't stamped by the tales they tell about themselves, it's the breadcrumb trail of moments they leave in their wake that does the talking. And here's where the rubber meets the road. It's a cinch to pat ourselves on the back, good, strong, honest, big-hearted, but do our tiniest moves back that up? If nobody's peeking, if there's no gold star or slap on the wrist, what do we pick? Those are the gut checks that count, the ones that don't give you a heads up to primp, they demand the real you, no filter. Whether we clock it or not, they're ticking away every day, every second. Life's got its eyes peeled, and it's got a long memory. Words? They're a dime a dozen, light as feathers, bendy as rubber, shaped to fit any crowd, any vibe. You can trumpet your virtues, pledge loyalty, till the cows come home, spin speeches about integrity that'd make a preacher blush, but if your actions don't match, it's all hot air. The world's never starved for those who yap about honor, kindness, righteousness, yet when push comes to shove, plenty go mum, their promises fizzing out like cheap soda in the sun. True character doesn't strut out in spotlighted heroics or polished TED Talks, it sneaks up in the moments that don't need a stage. It's choosing right when nobody's tallying, clinging to principles that don't flex for an easy out. Integrity's no billboard, it's a quiet rhythm, thumping because it has to, not because it's fishing for a thumbs up. Some people treat morality like a thrift store outfit, swapping values based on who's in the room, kind when it pays, honest when it's cheap, loyal when it's a breeze. Then there are the rare birds who don't need a crowd, they're steady in the shadows as much as the sun, their kindness no act, their honesty no weather vane, their loyalty no wilting flower. You don't need a memo to spot them, you'll feel it, because truth doesn't knock and announce itself. Sure, it's easy to talk a good game, to cobble a shiny rep with slick lines, but reputation's just the gossip folks trade, character's the steel you forge inside. Time's the great whistleblower, words might snow people for a spell, but actions spill the beans every time. So, don't ask who you say you are, ask who you prove you are. Strip the chatter, mute the fanfare, leave just your deeds, what's the story they'd spill? Integrity? Kindness? Guts? Or something less pretty? The world's had its fill of lip service, it craves those who walk their talk, who do right when no one's there to clap. That's what sticks when the dust settles. And now that you've got the playbook to size up others, here's the real kicker, turn that lens on yourself. It's a snap to play judge, spotting truth and bunk in the crowd, but the heavy lifting's in what you mold yourself into. Knowing character's yardstick means zilch if you don't measure up too. Peel back your own hype, ditch the polish, the Instagram filter, what's left? Who are you when the room's empty, when goodness gets you nada, when being a jerk costs nothing? That's your bedrock, the grit everything else stands on. Every day's a buffet of tiny picks, small fries that stack up to define you. Do you treat people decent not because you're forced, but because it's right? Do you stick to your guns when it stings? Do you hold steady in the muck, not for applause, but because you won't break? Don't just mouth off answers, live in how you roll through life when the scoreboard's off. Sure, it's tempting to slap on a mask, blend with the easy roaders, but integrity's hammered out in the tough spots, when doing right's the hard climb. Want to be the real deal? Hold yourself to account like the world never will, push for the honesty, kindness, strength you'd cheer in someone else. Perfection's a pipe dream, and nobody's asking for it, but showing up true, day after unglamorous day? That's the gold standard worth chasing. Your true value isn't about dodging every stumble, it's about what you do when you hit the dirt. Do you dust off, learn a thing or two, grow a bit, not to polish your halo for the crowd, but because deep down, you know you've got to? Growth's no picnic, it demands staring in the mirror, swallowing some humble pie, and a dogged vow to top yesterday's you. Sure, keep an eye on others, but zoom that lens inward, because when the dust clears, the racket dies, and the masks tumble off, one question stands tall: did you turn into someone worth a handshake? Masks slip, facades crack, and truth always bobs to the surface like a stubborn cork. The world's a chatterbox of voices, but not all of them are straight shooters. Some'll spin you exactly what your ears crave, but their actions? That's the uncut director's reel. You've got to peek past the sweet talk, the glossy veneer, the smoke and mirrors, and here's your homework: how do you treat the ones with zilch to give back? How do you strut your stuff when life's got you flat on your back? Because, my friends, it's not just about eyeballing others, it's about shaping yourself into someone worth a second glance. Nail these two, and you'll never be duped again. Better yet, you'll have your own number, clear as day, solid as rock, who you really are when the curtain's down. Have you ever crossed paths with someone who seemed kind, incarnate, compassionate, noble, practically glowing with halos, only to find out later they were about as genuine as a $3 bill? Happens every day, doesn't it? People slap on masks, strut their roles, and put on a show worthy of an Oscar. But here's the kicker: life's got a knack for yanking the curtain back, and if you squint just right, you only need 2 little peepholes to spot the real deal. A person's true colors don't flash like neon when the spotlight's on. Oh no, it's in the quiet corners, the blink and you miss it moments, where their soul sneaks out to play. Want the unvarnished truth about someone? Skip the polished speeches they've rehearsed in the mirror, ignore the Instagram-ready image they're peddling. Instead, clock how they treat the nobodies, the ones with no clout, no connections, no goodies to trade. There's a raw, no-nonsense fact about us humans: when there's nothing to gain, no applause to chase, no back-scratching in sight, that's when the mask slips, and you see who's really behind the curtain. Keep your eyes peeled, watch how they talk to the waiter juggling plates at the diner, the receptionist manning the front desk, the lone worker mopping floors after the crowd's cleared out. Do they dish out a little kindness, or do they breeze by like these people are invisible? A person's real worth isn't tallied up in their big, showy bows to the high and mighty, it's in those tiny, offhand moments with the so-called small fry. Because here's the gospel truth: nobody's small fry, not a single soul. Power's a sly seductress, it can polish people up, make them rehearse their lines, even look downright saintly. But yank away the carrot, ditch the reward, and what's left? A truly good soul doesn't need a cheering section to be kind, doesn't crave a gold star to show respect, doesn't whip out a calculator to see if compassion's worth the hassle. They just do it, because that's their wiring. Then there's the other crowd, the mask wearers, slipping on kindness like a Halloween costume when it suits them, shedding it the second there's no prize to snag. They'll butter up the big shots but brush off anyone they peg as beneath them, glad-handing power while giving the cold shoulder to those they deem unworthy of a nod. That's the real test, the silent X-ray of character, not how they treat their peers or the boss, but how they handle the ones who can't squat for them. Pay attention, really zero in, and you'll see this play out everywhere: in the boardroom, at the coffee shop, in the way someone chats up a stranger or tips a hat to the old guy sitting solo. The tiniest moves carry the heaviest truth. One flick of disregard can spill more tea than a lifetime of silver-tongued promises. So, flip the mirror. Who are you when the spotlight's off, when there's no applause, no payoff, no one to dazzle? That's the real you, because character isn't your public performance, it's what lingers when the curtains close. Power and adversity? They're the twin wrecking balls that smash through every fake front, every carefully spun illusion. They don't remake a person, they unmask them. Hand someone real power, the kind to call shots, steer the ship, bark orders, and watch what they do with it. Do they hoist others up or shove them down? Inspire or bulldoze? Some say power corrupts, but nah, it's just a megaphone for what's already humming inside. The humble turn into big-hearted givers, the cocky morph into steamrollers, the caring become guardians, and the selfish? Hello, mini-dictators. Power doesn't build character, it flips the lid off the box. Then there's the flip side, strip it all away. Watch someone when the rug's pulled out, when life stops kissing their boots. That's their raw reflection staring back. Some buckle under the blow, whining at the universe, spitting venom at anyone handy. Others, the tough ones, stand tall, not because the hurt doesn't sting, but because they won't let it own them. Loss, betrayal, injustice, it's a fork in the road, sink into the gloom or climb above it. The world loves to toast the winners, to ogle the top dogs, but if you want the real scoop on someone, don't gawk at their victory lap. Check how they lose. When they're flat on their back, do they get up with grace or claw like a cornered alley cat? Do they stick to their guns or sell out to claw back control? Adversity rips off every disguise, no mask holds up in a fight. What's left is the unfiltered truth, and boy, does it shine. There's an even sneakier test, how someone reacts to the woes of others. Some, perched high in their towers of strength, peer down at the struggling like they're sizing up a bunch of flops, weak, less than, not worth the bother. Then there are those who've trudged through their own blazing messes. They don't just stand there gawking, they reach out a hand, because they've got the scars to prove they know what it's like to weather a storm. Adversity's a coin toss. It either turns your heart to stone, bitter, frosty, full of grudges, or it cracks it wide open, pouring in a richer understanding, a warmer empathy, a hard-won wisdom you can't pick up from a book. So keep your eyes peeled, not just on what folks yap about, but on what they do, when they're riding high with everything and when they're scraping by with zilch. Because right there, in those unscripted flashes, their true selves are scribbled in ink so clear you'd need to be blind to miss it. People are born as performers, stepping onto life's stage, they master the art of masks, buffed to a shine, rehearsed to perfection. They flash smiles on cue, spout the right lines, nod like bobbleheads, all while stashing their true selves under lock and key. Society eats it up, rolling out the red carpet for the charmers, the yes men, the ones who've nailed the art of looking picture perfect. But under every slick act, every glossy headshot, there's a raw reality itching to peek out. If you're sharp, if you really tune in, you'll catch the mask slipping. It's in those sneaky, unguarded blips, a snap of impatience at someone they deem a nobody, a flick of a dismissive eye, a voice edged with a little too much bite. It's when they think the spotlight's off, when they're alone with their unfiltered thoughts. Truth doesn't strut in with a megaphone, it tiptoes, whispering, hiding in the fine print. And the biggest blunder? Buying that words outweigh deeds. Someone can spin a golden promise, preach all the right sermons, but what do they do when the curtains close? That's the real headliner. The illusion's got its tightest grip when life's a breeze, everything's rosy, no bumps, no bruises, no dents in their cozy bubble. Kindness is a cinch when it's free, patience a breeze when nothing's rattling the cage. But life's not a forever script, the stage lights flicker, the lines dry up, and that's when the real player steps out. Watch them when they're thrown a curveball, when they're annoyed, thwarted, denied something they've got their heart set on, that's where the truth sneaks through the cracks. Some people strut their goodness like a knight's armor, all shiny and clanking, but armor's for hiding, for shielding. Real virtue? Real character? It doesn't need a suit, it stands buck naked and unbowed. A kind soul doesn't audition for applause, they just are. An honest heart doesn't yap about integrity, they live it. And those who keep shouting their own praises from the rooftops? chances are, they're running on empty. So don't get suckered by the masquerade, don't let charm, sweet talk, or a well-spun mirage pull the wool over your eyes. Dig deeper, peek past the billboard. The truth's always there, simmering just below the gloss, spilling out in the hush of a moment. Spot it, and you'll know who they are, not the role they've memorized, but the unscripted, unvarnished them. Life's a sneaky examiner, it doesn't roll out the red carpet or blast trumpets to announce its tests. No, it slips them in quietly, tucked into the overlooked nooks, the pauses between chit-chat. These are the pop quizzes that spill the beans on who we really are, not the big, rehearsed scenes, but the ones we don't even clock as they unfold. Every day, 1,000 tiny forks in the road pop up, each one whispering, "Who are you when the spotlight's off?" No heads up, no warm-up, no cheat sheet. A stranger fumbles their keys on the sidewalk. Do you pause to lend a hand, or breeze by like it's not your circus? Someone snaps at you with a sour tongue. Do you dish out patience or let the temper flare? A pal unloads their woes. Do you lean in with real heart, or just tap your foot till it's your turn to talk? These moments are puny, so blink and you miss it that nobody else bats an eye, but oh, they're goldmines, brimming with the unvarnished truth of you. The world doesn't slap a character test today, sign on the obvious stuff we brace for.